All right, welcome to Unsupervised Learning. I'm here with Bar-El Tayouri, head of min.io, and it's great to see you.
It's great to be here. What a pleasure.
Awesome. So before we get into the min.io stuff, it looks like you have a pretty interesting background, and I just wanted to get a walkthrough of that real quick. What gets you excited about tech? Like, what have you been doing in tech all these years? And just like to hear about you.
And wow, it's a very long and short time. Basically, since I'm 12, I'm programming into tech. I also was into game development. I also taught game development, and then I went slightly into cyber of it, like hacking games, into getting more getting money in the game, or points or something.
Yeah,
Um,
higher scores.
exactly,
Yeah,
and it's so fun.
yeah.
Uh, Especially in the early days, it was so easy. It
Yeah,
was
because
extremely easy.
everything was local, right? All the resources, everything
Exactly.
was stored locally, so you could just edit it, and it would appear on the server side. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember all the hexa, all the hex,
Yes.
all the hex that they try to find the right place with the scores to change, and it was so
Yeah.
fun. Um,
Yeah. You imagine the tools that we have now; it would be so much easier. But
yeah, I know it's crazy.
yeah. Um.
Uh, and then, since then, I'm moved into more network security,
Mhm.
operating systems. I also continue into the army. Um, so I have like a lot of experience in army stuff, like cryptography, networks, research. Um, then I was a first engineer in augmented reality startup. And afterwards, I built my own company. We did prioritization for cloud native alerts, like for container image scanning. And then we got acquired into Mend, which is the same company I'm in now.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and it's now basically it's called Mend Container today. It's the Mend Container Reachability, and now I moved into Mend AI, which is a new product we founded to do AI security.
Very very cool. What do you think is like the common thread going through all of this? Like the main thing driving curiosity.
Mm, wow, amazing question. I think I always was really excited from new industry changing technology. It was always the technology that's that's like was enabling something uh, and make it so exciting, especially in the startups world where you have these giant companies and one day or like in a pretty quick process, um, they're all disrupted, and there's tons of new things you can build
Yeah.
um, to challenge the big giants. So it's amazing.
Yeah. So Um, are you mostly interested in the network security stuff? Obviously, you're doing AI stuff now. Everyone's doing AI stuff. Um, but like network security, application security, like what is like your center mass, like your favorite thing?
So for sure, 100% application security. It's so exciting. But basically, at the end of the day, it's all about developers and the vulnerabilities like you have in your code. So my focus is now application security and AI security for inside the application.
Mm,
That's like our special take.
okay.
We look just in the application. We try to, there's so many issues there. Also on the AI components there. So
Yeah. What do you see as the biggest problems right now in AppSec? Obviously, a big part of that is going to be AI because there's so many AI applications. But would you say AI is the biggest sort of application security thing happening right now?
I tried, like we looked on many issues. And when we founded the Atom Security, it was clear the biggest issue is prioritization. and the size of the backlog of vulnerabilities, of critical vulnerabilities you have.
Yeah.
And now with all the reachability technologies that allows you to reduce the noise, basically remove the false positives, and the trend of platforms and ASPM that allows you to take all the findings in one place and prioritize them smartly. We see the biggest issues is now what's introduced in AI with AI. And then there's like two different things. There's the AI the employees are using in order to be more productive, so that it's reduced some risks. And what we see as the biggest risk, because we see how the world is changing and how our customers are moving towards in the products, is the AI components inside applications, and especially the AI agents inside the
Okay.
applications that are in production.
Okay. So when you say AI components, do you mean like libraries? Like what other pieces other than the agents do you mean by AI components?
So it's a great question, because in the beginning, when I did simple data science before ChatGPT and LLMs, there wasn't many AI components. You had data set, and then you build with it some machine learning model. And now the amount of components is exploding, because you have the data layer, and you have data set, and then you have and also data is changing, because you have data for training. But if you take already a model, which is a null component, and then fine-tune it or just doing alignment, so you have many types of data. You also have many types of models. You have models you're using for training, models you're using for fine tuning, and models you're using as is.
Yep.
So that's more components, but we also have all the components on the code layer. We'll have the system prompt and the agent tools, and the third-party
Yep.
agent tools like MCP servers,
Yep.
and the actual agents that can speak with many of these tools. And we have many agents, and we already see adoption of multiple agent frameworks.
Yeah, and maybe the APIs themselves, which they're not actually AI components, but those agents will be calling back to traditional APIs as well. Yeah, so that's a pretty good list of the components. You were going to mention something else, so like another component?
And someone just asked me today, what's the difference between old APIs, third-party APIs, and MCP servers or agent tools? And basically, you you would think there's no difference, and I would argue, but tell me what. Maybe it's also a question for you. Tell me what you think. I argue the main difference is the way you're using them, and not the tool is basically the same tool. The way you use them is that it's more close and more connected to your data, your critical data.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say another big difference is that usually when you build an API from scratch, you have a skilled developer who is going through very systematic process to define exactly what methods are possible. They still make mistakes, obviously, because we have API security problems. However, at least it's being manually done, right? Whereas with, I feel like with MCP servers, the problem is you could have, data, and you can have APIs on the back end. You spin up this MCP server, and it just kind of goes and collects all that functionality and presents its own new APIs that could be used by the agent tools. So I feel like you could create more functionality without knowledge. And that's kind of the issue, because you might be surprised by actually what can happen through that MCP server. So I think a lot of stuff is being stood up with MCP servers, and the people hosting it don't actually know all of its capabilities.
It's a great point. Also, in a way, you can't know all the capabilities because part of the best thing about this AI revolution is that the interface, but also the worst, is that the interface is fuzzy. The input and the output is fuzzy. It means it's
Yeah,
not like
100%
you
agree.
can't define exactly the signature of the function with all the variables. That's only integer. You can't put string there, right? So now you can
Yeah,
afraid only from integer overflow, maybe. And now the interface is so fuzzy. It's text, it's PDF, it's voice, it's PDF with image that has something inside it. You have so many options. So the attack
that's
surface
right.
is huge.
That's right. And then there's also the issue of like the fuzziness of if you're actually interacting with an agent on the receiving side that is front ending, like separate from the MCP server, if you're talking to an agent and it has the ability to use the tools, you might be able to confuse it or trick it into using the APIs it has available in unsafe ways. Right. Um,
It's a great point.
yeah, and
Also, it can be,
it might respond back and say no, and you ask in a different way, and it still gives you results.
by the way, we've seen in the wild many patterns, malicious patterns we've seen with open source libraries, like in the beginning of the concept of SCA and open source security, and with models, like a concept like a type squatting, when you're trying to do phishing to humans.
Yeah,
So humans chose, the wrong open source library because they changed something, they added a dash. So same with models. We've seen it
yeah,
all the time.
for like NPM packages, stuff like that, package managers.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So we've seen it also with models in the evolution of our product, and now we're seeing it with agent tools and libraries. So Cursor, you can very easy trick Cursor to use a type squatted package. Let's call it this way. And same for
mm,
MCP servers. You have malicious MCP servers.
right.
That's very
That's a
similar.
that's a great point, and that could just be a man in the middle that just passes on requests, right?
Exactly. It's look 100% legit.
Yeah, but I'm saying when you submit to that malicious one, it could be still submitting to the real one and returning you real results, but in the meantime gathering data or doing whatever.
I guess that's the worst because when you have a Bitcoin miner, I guess like let's call it malicious actor knows that it's going to be caught in the next few months, and you're trying to make the best out of this month. And this
Yep.
silent man in the middle type of malicious packages and malicious models and malicious MCP servers, that's probably the worst, especially when
Yeah.
it's third party. So you don't need even to open source your server.
Yeah. MCP is going to need some serious security help very quickly. It's because everyone's just running full speed, installing as many of these things as they can, and yeah, it's a good point. It's a really big mess right now. What other things? We got malicious MCP servers. We've got agents that can be tricked. I always talk about just like the agents having too many tools available. Because oftentimes I think if the business is pushing like we must have AI, we must have AI. Oh, and by the way, we must have an agent. They just give the agent access to too many tools. And the guardrail infrastructure isn't really there yet. I don't know if you guys have something around this, but um, I use Bedrock a lot, and Bedrock has some pretty cool guardrails stuff built in. But we're
Yes.
running way faster than the guardrails are being laid down. So I just feel like there's a mismatch between the amount of power that agents have and the amount of access and power that they have.
I think this asymmetry was right for every new category in security.
That's
Actually, I
true.
think AI security is probably one of the quickest categories to catch up. If you look like on games, for example, game security on operating systems in the early days, or networks in the early days, we still have protocols like DHCP and ARP. It's or DNS. It's so easy, so much trust into
Yeah.
other people in the early days. And
Yeah.
categories like cars security
Oh,
and AI
yeah.
security, it's amazing how quickly they adopt security practices, even before the Log4j happened of the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah. ARP is always the one that trips me out the most. It's like, you don't even have to ask a question. You could just receive answers. Like, oh, by the way, here is the MAC address that you're supposed to talk to. And your host is like, thank you very much. I will update that table immediately. It's
Yes,
just make,
it's amazing.
and the fact that it all still works. Yeah. Interesting. So I think I agree with you. I mean, we were basically running with scissors with AI. It's funny because I've been in the space for so long, like since 99. So and I started mostly in network security. And as you move to web security, you have to relearn all the network security issues, right? We learned those lessons for 10 years, 15 years. We forget them when we move to web security. We forget them again when you go to mobile security. You forget them again a little bit when you go to cloud security. And now with AI, but yeah, maybe, well, okay, here's the question. Why is AI security picking up so fast compared to the other ones? Why is the delay shorter?
Um, I think it's. I I think if you think about it, um, everyone understand. All the products are going to have AI, and because of this fuzzy interface, and that you want it to be connected into your most important data sources. Um, I think everyone understands we're kind of a game of who's going to be the first Log4j. Um, in a way, maybe
Yeah,
everyone just understand it's a matter of time, and you don't want it's just you don't want it to be you, the first Log4j.
that
I
makes
must say
sense.
I understand all the companies, like all my customers, that like trying to push hard to develop with AI, to develop AI into their products, because if they won't do it, all the competitors will do it. And it's a huge advantage. Also, us as like a security vendor, we're using AI to solve problems in our product, to understand code and to suggest code remediations. And it's something that, or you're going to be the first to do it and you'll have this advantage, or you'll be the last to do it and you'll you lose the game.
Yeah, that could be it. The fact that it just feels so big, people just have a natural fear of it. Whereas maybe it was slower with the previous revolutions. How do you see the distinction between security of AI versus AI security?
Security of AI, basically, which every category in security, when you say X security, it usually means securing X, right? Like
Yeah,
cloud security, it's securing the cloud. SaaS security is securing SaaS. Somehow with AI security, it's still confusing because I guess it's in the early days. I think we should align that AI security is securing AI and not and not securing the output of AI or something like that. But time will tell, I guess.
yeah. I wonder if they start to merge. I think maybe one of the reasons that it started out being separate was this whole concept of just the model. Remember data poisoning? It's not talked about as much as like in 22 or 23, but it was like, what is can the data be poisoned that, the AIs are being trained on, right? So it was like, I don't know. There's just not nearly as much focus on that anymore. And now it's more about it. I would agree with you. I think it's actually merging more now.
Yes,
Yeah.
also, yeah, also like in the beginning, everyone spoke about like AI-driven security,
Hmm.
and it's kind of funny because uh, anomaly detection, it's basically like using AI in order to find anomalies, um, and so many of the categories already using heavily based on AI. But if we look in the future, there's not going to be any vendor that's not using AI.
That's right.
Also in application security, like your promise at the end is suggesting how to harden your code. Um, uh, of course, you're going to use AI.
That's right. That's right. We don't have any database companies because, well, we do that only make databases or whatever, but every company is a database company. Every company is an Excel company. Like, yeah, it's just built in. Um, so what do you
Good
think about
point.
the current solutions? What do you think about current solutions in terms of like what are the current like AppSec vendors, like the ones that have been around for 15 years or whatever? How are their solutions like solving these problems that we've been talking about?
They just really simple answer. They just don't. Um, like classic AppSec solutions doing a really good job in detecting some patterns in your code of vulnerabilities, like CWEs. At the end of the
Yeah,
day, inherently is a pattern. Not It's not a technique to solve it, to find the CWEs. The way we think about it is about finding patterns. CVEs, which today it's maybe a bit sad for CVE, but
yeah,
let's say there's many other security advisories. GH, the others, the GitHub security advisory, the Ruby security advisory, so all of them. It's something that it's in your libraries. So the way you think about it is only libraries and code issues. But the thing about AI security is that first, even to detect these components, it's not enough to look in libraries. Libraries can give you a hint, and actually, it's something. It's a great thing we do. Only using the libraries tell you the hints. I remember the day when we found you can do it. You can just take the libraries even before you put some heavy scanners on other places. Just take the libraries and extract all the hints you can about the usage of AI, and that
yeah.
was like a great aurora for us.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, and that's maybe the first step. But basically, how do you find models? Models is something, or you find it at the model artifact, which can be either in the repository, in the container, in some S3 bucket, or spatial, models repositories. So that's a new place to detect for models. But if it's, third party, if you're using some inference providers, which from my experience, most customers starting from using inference providers. Most companies, they start with some prototype and they will use the easiest, OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, Bedrock,
Yeah.
and they can. So that's something you can't find anywhere. Not in the container. It's not an artifact. The only place is in the code, and none of our current solutions is positioned to find it. So you need a new solution. A new. I think the AI security companies are going to be, and products are going to be something like totally new, that is going to be merged into the current DevSecOps and AppSec workflows.
Yeah, the way I think about it, or I always used to think about it, because my background is largely web security, which we would have a major distinction between dynamic and static security, right? So, like, I was
Yes.
at Fortify for a very long time, and there were the static people over there, and we were the dynamic people. I feel like the AI piece definitely is on the dynamic side. It has to be, right? So rather than just like web testing and API testing, it's got to be more comprehensive. So let's just jump right
It's a good
into.
point. We started with with the static part of AI, because we found that the biggest issue is threat modeling, just to discover what you don't know you have. And we
Yeah.
found that it's not just a big issue; it's like a huge issue, because most companies just don't know what they have on the factor
Yeah.
of 10. But then because of that, we moved into the dynamic section, when we now trying to offer both, because at the end of the day, AI model is a bunch of numbers. Unlike code you can understand, you just can't understand it, and the only way is through a conversation, through dynamic
Yeah.
simulating attacks, through pen testing, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So let's think about that. So just talk me through how your solutions are set up. What is the basic tagline for it? Um is it asset discovery? Are you discovering the structure of the application? Are you enumerating controls? Are you testing controls? What exactly is it that the suite does?
So it's kind of both. We're starting from statically scanning all the AI assets, all the AI resources, components, you can call it in different names, to find all the AI you have. Usually at this stage, we find that usually we start like average company will say we have some AI components, some AI-driven applications. Then where we do the initial scan, we found it's more than that by factor of 10.
Mm.
And that's every time exciting to see and in the security, it's really easy to say that it's bad, but actually it's pretty amazing how the industry is trying to push hard, to push forward. So even without the security knowing, everyone just trying to use it, trying to make smarter applications and more valuable products. So we detect it, and then the question is, if I have DeepSeek and it's a RAG, maybe it's bad because RAG connected to data. You don't want to leak this data, and you
Yeah.
may be concerned about DeepSeek, unless you're in China, which is then it's the opposite. You probably want to use DeepSeek. So you just want to know what you have. Then you want to detect all the risks you have in these components, which is kind of a composition analysis. When you think about it in deeply, not only libraries in SEA. Um, uh, uh, and that's amazing. You find legal risk, you find security risk for all these components. It can be models, agents, MCP servers, agent tools,
And
data sets.
how are you getting all the components? Are they providing them to you, or are you getting them dynamically? How are you getting these from the customer?
So we started with taking the hints from the open source libraries,
Uh-huh.
and then we use these hints to look into the code and find all the components in code. And if you're using self-hosted models or open source models, we'll look for artifacts. So we'll find a file from the magic of the file, from the headers of the file, we know it's AI model, and then we have some fingerprinting technique to match it into the actual file it's inherit from. So if you took a file, fine-tuned it, took something from Hugging Face, fine-tuned it, and using it, will tell you about this file and that it's related to Hugging Face model, and hopefully not malicious one.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that's an offering by itself, right? Just like asset discovery.
Of course, you'll be surprised by how much there's the proportion between what you know and what you don't know
Yeah.
is large. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Whenever I do security assessments, I usually have a really large visual that I'm building out throughout the week. And honestly, it's just laying out what the application does. It just lays out what the functionality is, where the data is flowing. And as I'm interviewing more and more developers and more people in the company, I just bring them in and show them this thing, and they're like, "Oh, this, yeah." Everyone starts taking pictures. They start taking. They're like, "Oh yeah, yeah." So because they don't have any documentation that's actually this good, and it turns out if you just see it, if you just visualize it, you're like, it's obvious to everyone who walks in the room that this is a problem. And when it's not visualized, or it's not explicitly laid out, yeah, you just miss the stuff. Okay, so you have the
Yeah, it's a
list
good
of
point.
components.
By the way, it's I like all the trend of showing topology and of
Yes.
what you have. Yeah, I love this trend.
Mhm.
I think there's a really large debate in the security industry because people say, but at the end of the day, it's not showing the data. You need tables, but there's something about visualizations that like past the give you the value, shows it in a different way, and it's
I mean,
funny.
I would
You
just
know,
show an arrow, and I would like color code the arrows. Like I would have the data classification for the company on the board. And if it's one of the like last two data classification, like sensitive, secret, whatever their classification is, then I would just have all the connecting dots or the connecting arrows be red. They're like, why are these red? Because, Sarah over here or John over here said that type of data classification is included in this data. And suddenly, after you talk to 20 different people, the whole board's red. Right? The whole board's red. And they're like, okay, I didn't realize the problem was this bad. Yeah. And then those documents end up being used as the official document for the application going forward. So I feel like this is absolutely needed, especially for AI. When I talk to people about AI implementations, I'm just like, show me exactly where the agent is in this workflow. Show me exactly which APIs it has access to. And as they start writing it down, they're like, oh, well, I think I see the problem. I haven't even said anything yet.
yes, it's amazing. I love threat modeling. I love like doing it with customers, and
Yeah.
you study from it so much. And
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
at the end of the day, like it's not enough because you need to detect the issues.
Yeah.
So there's malicious models, which is like surprisingly like getting evolving a category, and because in open source models there is you think a model is only like a metric of numbers, but actually it has also some serialized code. It's like many types of models are like pickle files. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily a pickle file. It can be a family of types of pickle files, which is a code that is serialized into some like some opcodes that can
It's
actually,
always the
you know,
parsers. It's always the parsers.
yes,
Yeah.
and it can pull code. Theoretically, it can pull another binary from remote and run it,
Yeah.
so it can be super malicious.
Yeah,
But there's also
absolutely.
like a known risk, like other classic vulnerabilities. Um, Only this week, I saw a company that scanned all the papers, or like all the academic papers, and tried to extract the existing attacks and to map, attacks to models.
Mm.
Um, I think we're still not there at the end of the game. It's not like a SEA that you have so many security advisories, but I think we're
Yeah.
getting there. And with
Yeah,
red teaming,
interesting.
we're for sure more mature as an industry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say someone what does an ideal customer look like for you? Like in terms of they come to you and they say, I have this problem or this problem or this problem, and you say, okay, perfect. That's exactly what we do. What would those problems look like, and what would you tell them the solution is?
There's two types of companies. Um, I see all it's a company that concerned about AI, but they don't know what to do. So that's kind of the pre-threat modeling stage.
Hmm.
That's a stage where the first thing you need to do is discover everything you have, all the agent models, um, Usually a company will say we have a policy that says we're only using, Azure OpenAI, and then we'll find many like a Hugging Face model, DeepSeek, and other inference providers. And that's the first stage. And once we help to do the threat modeling, we see how the companies start like thinking and getting more advanced. And the other type of companies are a bit more sophisticated ones, where they already have some like 2 to 3, let's say, or a few like major AI-driven products. They know about them. They already like threat model them. So the discovery will still help them a lot. But they're more advanced. They know they have some, let's say, tax application reviewer, automatic reviewer, that like is very smart, but it's very risky because it's a PDF and something can happen. Usually, they wouldn't know exactly what the risks. They wouldn't know that what they need is, something that will simulate attacks of sending PDF with an image, and inside the image it will have some prompt injection. But they will heard about the OWASP top 10 for LLM applications, which is,
Yeah.
by the way, great list of threats. Great awareness.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
and then we'll like tell them, hey, you have here potential malicious model, check it. You have here DeepSeek, and that's the findings from the dynamic scanning of the all the attack simulations.
Okay.
And then we need to fine tune how to do what's the right attacks, what's the most important attacks to check.
Nice. Okay, and then what is the product? Like, what does the product suite do? Like, what are the pieces of functionality?
So it's basically what we spoke about. It starts with discovery of all the components, then it moves to the risk of each component individually. Once you know about all your components, you need somehow to connect them into a behavioral risk, to understand, to contextualize all the risk of the entire components together. And because you can have system prompt, you can have a model, and you can have some, RAG that connects them to a database. But unless you understand you have this database, this system prompt with this model, that's the only way to understand that you have context leakage. And so for that, we have these behavioral risk, automatic red teaming, attack simulations. And to wrap everything, we're doing a mitigation, what we call governance and mitigations,
Mm.
where you can create policies to prevent, let's say, if it's RAG and DeepSeek, block it, this spatial combination. And in the near future, we are going to release the ability to what we call guide rails, which is not
Mm.
guardrails, it's guide rails. It's the
Interesting.
concept of putting like mitigations into the code, not
Oh,
like a
so
firewall.
like dynamic detections as it's coming in?
No, so actually not dynamic. And the point is that integrated into the development process, and the developers will get suggestions for mitigations to the code. For example, add to the system
Mm.
prompt this and that in order to block these red teaming findings, in order to mitigate from these findings. For example, format your output of LLM into more like a less fuzzy format, because you don't
Mm.
need a fuzzy output. So why open your attack surface? And so
Oh,
many
okay.
small things that everyone has. Everyone got these issues. And you have agent, maybe the same agent should not access the data and run code afterwards. Because if someone will like prompt injection the agent, he can run code that access the data. So
Yeah.
there's so many simple steps no one knows.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so it's the initial assessment of like what the attack surface is, um, just discovering the assets. Then there's the dynamic assessment, and then there's mitigation.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. What do you think is happening next? What are you worried about happening coming up? Trends or risks that you see coming up soon?
Um, I think it seems like we have every new, like it seems like every old category in security need to find a way to adapt. And because like I speak with customers and we see that identities, that is like, kind of an existing category with tons of issues, now has a new aspect in the AI-driven applications, because you want to manage, you want to make sure one user can't access a different user data. So it's old problem with a new suit, let's call it. So
Yeah.
we see so many new trends, and exactly like you said before, so many same problems and new problems, which are basically the same. So that's one
Yeah.
thing I think we need to remember it, that all the new things are basically old.
Yeah. IAM, like you're talking about. Yeah, I think the distinction between what an agent is doing and making sure it's not acting on behalf of an actual human, right? Making non-human identity versus human identities, and making those distinctions, having separate policies for those. I think that's going to be important.
Yes, and like same concept. You want multi-tenant also for agent. You want permissions also for agent.
Separation of
Uh,
duties, like you said, all the old stuff we have to re-implement,
yes,
relearning the lessons from 25 years.
exactly. But I think like if you look on the new things classes, you see that multiple agents, of course, but multiple agent frameworks, agents orchestration, create more issues because it's way more complicated to understand
Yeah,
how it works. And the communication between agents make the exploit way more complicated. It's
yeah,
way more complicated, but like way stronger. Very similar to what you have when you try to exploit memory corruptions, that you try to jump between different places in the program in order
yeah,
to finally run the code. Um, so it's very similar to here. If the code is, if you have more attack surface, when you have the code is larger, and you have more places, more gadgets that you can, like more places you can jump between each other until you run their code. Here you have many agents, so you need just to find the agent, to send the right prompt into to
yeah.
run the code.
I think it's worse, like you said. I think it's worse with multi-agent because that's more opportunities for tricking. Like you might have a smart one. Um, so a prompt injection might not detonate with the first one you're talking to, but it might pass it along to a dumber one behind it, and that one it will detonate on. Yeah, interesting.
Also, if you think about it, when you have more components that speaking with each other, it's hard to track what's the purpose of each one. So you're going to have these, let's call it small drifts in the communication between them. There's one that should do X, the one should do Y, but they will have somewhere like some very small interaction that will probably be exploitable.
Yeah,
Because for
yeah,
each one
absolutely.
individually is totally okay. It looks fine.
Yeah. So for the CISOs that are listening, like, what's the one piece of advice? Like, what's the one thing you would say to someone who's implementing AI or trying to secure it?
I would say the easiest thing to do is, at least from my experience, is to try to create really hard forcing policies, and that prevents everything and blocks everything. And that's really easy. But I think the right way to go is to create integrated workflows like any other security issues, that will help to enable developers and enable the products to be really good and valuable and AI driven, and more and less disable. And it's right for everything. And I think it's especially for AI. And I see
Hmm.
it firsthand, maybe a bit too much, unfortunately.
Yeah, that makes sense. And where can people learn more about the company?
So Mend.io is an AppSec company, traditional AppSec company, one of the first SEA vendors that grew into, SAST, SEA, container image scanning, like I spoke before about the reachability technology that we got acquired for. and now also AI security. We love what we do. We have a lot of customers, and I think we're the first AI security vendor in the market doing a shift left. So we're really proud about it and hoping to make awareness in the industry about it.
Awesome. Well, Bar-El, it was great chatting with you, and look forward to chatting again.
Lovely. It was my pleasure.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.